taken out of my account for Top's Pizza. I already reported it to NatWest, got everything ironed out. There was also another attempted payment to Domino's in London, which I blocked. NatWest blocked it, not me. And after that, on Tuesday, I got a text from scammers about a PayPal account. And they said that in order for my account to avoid suspension, unfortunately, I fell for it and gave them my personal information. And then I called NatWest to find out when I was getting refunded and all the rest of it. So that NatWest call was a standard call. It was nothing to do with anything. But then I got a call at 18:14 this evening from somebody. It was from NatWest's number. But judging by the way he was speaking, it was clearly not from NatWest. Because at first he started saying, "Oh, madam, you requested for us to call you," and I'm thinking, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I just played along and said, "Oh my God, I must have forgot," like acted all ditzy, right?
Yeah.
And then they started telling me that I had £130 being paid in by a Sir Robert Collins.
Yeah.
And he said, "Was that you? Have you been paid £130? And then I said, no, nothing like that happened. And then they said there was a specific amount. He wasn't clear on how much it was. That there was a specific amount of money coming from being purchased in, there was a purchase in Asda in Liverpool. And I said, no, that wasn't me either. And he wanted to check how much money I've got in my account. So I told him the truth and I said, it's zero in there, right?
Yeah.
And I repeated that it was zero in there. Next thing I know, he just says, "Oh, thank you," and then he hangs up. And the kind of questions that he was asking, he was not from NatWest, which means he used NatWest number and he was posing as them in order to find out why their scams weren't working.
Yeah.
Because I could hear him talking in the background, saying to another person in the background, saying, "Oh, she's got zero on her account." So it wasn't the bank.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, just just because you've clicked, it's a link you clicked on in your text, just for extra precaution, I would turn your phone off and take it. Is it an Apple phone?
Alright, he goes through all the precautions that I need to take, which I will duly take tonight. But there's something else that I want to show you. You see, I wasn't fucking about when I made this call. Listen to this.
Family, after she realised that her family would...
Yeah, so... Right. I'm going to play you a little snippet of this. Go back.
Like, he usually cannot generate scams, like texts you might receive.
Okay.
It just came up, so it obviously helps like stop these. When it comes to regarding the phone call, you can sign up to our telephone pressing service.
Yeah.
This helps just block any unwanted mass marketing calls you might receive on your mobile landline.
Telephone, did you say telephone pressing service?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I can give you a website and you can do your own research before you sign up to it, rather than just taking my advice.
Sure.
So it's www.
Yeah.
TPS.
QPS.
T for Tango.
TPS.
Tango PS.
Yeah, and S for sugar. Online.
Yeah.
.org.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
This is going somewhere. Stay with it.
Yeah. So I would just go with that, and then you can do your own research, obviously. I kind of I forgot what I feel like I was going to say something.
I hate when that happens.
As soon as I call in, I'll remember.
Yeah, and I hate when that happens,
Yeah.
That's annoying.
But, yeah, it's just, I think it's just people. No, I don't know.
You said with regards to the PayPal, just change the password. I don't need to do anything dramatic.
Yeah.
And just don't use this phone until I've got an antivirus and I've had it checked over.
Yeah. I use a different device to change all the passwords just in case.
Right.
Just because you've lost some money as well, we can give you a website of advice on how you can get money back after a scam.
Oh, no.
I promise this is going somewhere. Hang on.
Okay, so, no. Actually, I might need it, because they're going to try again.
Listen.
So, they're going to try again, so I might need that.
Well, I thought it was only like 2 payments out of a few.
Well, no. It's like 3 so far, but the thing is, they're going to try it again. There's no way they're not going to. Let me explain why, okay? Now, I'm a victim of a trafficking ring currently in operation. Now, it's not your ordinary trafficking ring. It's a trafficking ring that involves remote energy weaponry. It involves psychological warfare, and it involves connections to criminal organizations that are involved in my case. Now, the way it works is that the main perps that are in charge of my particular case, they hire people with a long criminal rap sheet so that they can blackmail them into doing this to me. Now, I got away from Brent in London because the abuse that was actually going on over there, and the people that were actually harassing me and doing all of this to me, it was just getting too much. So I decided to move here. Now, they've been trailing me ever since I've come over to Brighton and Hove, okay? They've been trailing me ever since, right? And because they know that I'm becoming a bit more confident, a bit more sure-footed, a bit happier, what they're trying to do now is unseat me, either by making me like properly homeless, because I'm staying in a hostel at the moment. So they're trying to chip away at my finances at crucial moments to make me properly homeless, so that I don't have anywhere to go, and so that I have no choice but to return back to London where I was being handled, right? So that's what happens to a lot of victims who are like me. This is how...
Right. So sorry, filming someone else's bed. Okay, so what I just talked about on that video, I was on the phone to ActionFraud at the time, and I basically told them everything about what was going on with me. Now, I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Only to find out that...
I'm going to fast forward a little bit. One second.
I contacted the police in London repeatedly. My name is Fabian Deacon. You can look me up. I've talked to the police several times about break-ins, about electronic weaponry being used on me. All they've ever done is try to have me referred to mental health authorities, even though the United Nations are investigating these crimes. I'm not making this up. The United Nations are actually investigating it. So my thing is, if the United Nations are investigating it, and yet the UK government isn't even investigating it, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
It's beyond belief, isn't it? But like, I had to write a testimony into the United Nations about everything that was happening to me. That's how serious the crime is. They're investigating it, and yet the police aren't. That's a red flag.
Yeah. What I'd probably advise you doing then is maybe phoning your...
All right. So the young man over the phone, like, honestly didn't know what to do after he heard that. So he just advised me to talk to Sussex Police. Now, the problem with talking to Sussex Police is that nobody here has been an obvious perp yet, right? Nobody here has been obvious about their perpery. And when it comes to the EMF and DEW weaponry and the acoustic weaponry, they could literally be fired from anywhere, from any person, right? We know it's the UK government doing this. We know it's each government, any government that is involved with the alchemical brotherhoods, we know that's who's causing it, right? So we know the government is doing it. We know they're getting citizens to doing it, getting citizens to get involved, but getting criminals, They're getting people who are being blackmailed into it, people who are lied to in order to be motivated to do it. But the middlemen in between, like the fusion centers, first of all, we only have a vague idea as to who the fusion centers might be, okay? So what's stopping me from calling the police right now and telling them everything is the fact that I don't have the middlemen in between the perps and the government. Because they operate through a middleman that's not traceable. We could talk about Lockheed. Lockheed have been involved in corruption for a long time. We could talk about DARPA. We could talk about HARP. We could talk about all these organizations, but all these organizations operate through private unlisted companies. That's how they've been able to get away with this for this long. So if I'm going to accuse anybody of anything, I'd have to find the middlemen between the perps and the government. You get who they are, you get everyone else. So that's why I haven't reported that particular crime to the police. If I'm going to be here for as long as I want to be here, I literally have to wait until a perp reveals themselves. I literally have to wait until a perp reveals themselves before I start talking to Sussex police about anything. Okay? I'm not scared that they're not going to do anything. They're the police. They're part of UK government. They're not going to do anything about this because this is a UK government crime. But because I don't have a definite perp to attach anything to yet, I can't just ring them up and say, look, the UN is investigating into, human rights abuses. It's human rights abuses that the government have been committing. We need definite fucking suspects. We need definite people who are involved in this. Because if I start accusing like random people, then what connects them all together? It can't just be the government. There's a middleman in the midst of all of it. So, yeah, that's my play. I tell everybody everything. And knowing these narcissistic handler and perp pieces of shit, they're going to turn around and say, oh, that's just her mental illness. That's just paranoid schizophrenic. I dare you to try me. Go ahead and tell everybody that I'm paranoid schizophrenic. Go ahead and tell everybody that I'm sick. Might get me a place faster. The fuck? Go ahead and do it. You think I didn't know what I was doing when I came here? You go ahead and institutionalize me. I'm already, you know what? I'm already registered over here. Try your fucking luck. And to the scammers, you know that I'm getting refunded. You know that I'm changing everything on my accounts. You know that exactly what I'm doing. But unluckily for you, so does everyone else. So I know you're going to be stupid enough to try again, because that's what you do. That's what narcissists do. They don't know when to quit. And the only time when they do quit is when they're destroyed. Because that's how narcissists work. So I know you're going to do it again. Your pride can't handle anything else. When you haven't conquered something, you go back to it. That's how narcissists work, and that's why you're trying to fire weapons on my throat right now. Peep game. You're not smart. Peep game. You're not smart. At all. So I don't think you are. And yeah, the only thing you can do is rely on the same old tired fucking tactics that you've been relying on. That's all the fuck you can do. You seriously think by now I haven't yearned to use that to my advantage? You haven't figured out by now that you trying to institutionalize me and call me crazy is my fucking bread and butter out here? Have you not figured that out yet?